roll.
You seem hesitant. What? Can you shuffle through the notes one more time?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
All right, welcome to the Details Podcast. It is Monday, 3/18, and have you checked your notes for any breaking news?
No, there's no 10-year contracts.
No one's tossing out
so
that.
far today.
You know, it's
Thank
funny.
God.
I don't know if you probably don't go through this as much as I do because you eat better than I do. But do you ever have this
Where is this going?
Do you ever have that feeling of guilt or remorse when you go back in your car and you forgot to take out the bag that had your food in it? Like, I had McDonald's yesterday.
Right.
And I left it in the car, right? I forgot to throw it out.
Right.
And I got back in my car. I saw it this morning and it made me feel like a total piece of shit.
You know, it's funny. I would definitely say that I could never relate to you on this sense. Because I don't eat fast food, and for the first time in a while, I got one of those like frozen lemonades. I think it was on like Saturday or something.
Yeah.
Just pure fucking bullshit sugar, but it's it was a very refreshing refreshment. And I went I went back in my truck on Sunday, and I left the cup in there, and I was like, what a fucking slob I am. I haven't had fast food in like however many years, and this time I'm like, damn.
It's
that's
like
you say
it's
that.
almost like a walk of shame, right?
It is,
like
it's definitely a walk of shame. It's like, I'm a shitty dude. That's in my truck.
For a lemonade.
Yes.
Wow. I don't know what that makes
McDonald's
me
is exponentially worse, and I'm pretty sure not your worst case.
No,
of your whole life, but no, I do think it's definitely a bit of a bad look.
McDonald's
sure.
and those dollar drinks right now are my biggest guilty pleasure. Just getting a nice large Coke Zero, that's my thing.
What the fuck, dude? That doesn't even make like I've been meaning to really attack someone that says that for a long time. So what? Explain all of this to me.
James was pretty calm when we started this podcast, and now he's all fidgety and stuff.
I need an explanation, and I need help understanding the enjoyment of a pop.
So for me, I don't know, like, it's just so cool and it's so refreshing. It's so funny because Sean Dougal, who listens to this podcast, is probably like irate right now because he's obsessed with Coke, and I think he goes like 2-3 cans.
By no means are you guys rare, right?
It's almost the replacement that you would have with like a nice cold one, and what I mean by that is like an alcoholic
beverage. Okay.
I think it's just the one vice that I have that I need every now and then. I don't need one a day,
right?
But when it's a really hot summer day and I know I can get one for $1, I'll totally do it.
How many pops on a weekly basis would you consume? No judgment.
3-4.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I was that kid in high school that had like maybe 2 cans a day when I was in high school.
Right.
Then I went through a really good dry spell where I completely cut it out of my life. But I don't know. Just I found in the last 2-3 years
three or four times is nothing.
Compared to some people that I don't know.
And in reality, you know, pardon the horrible joke, but alcoholics would say, hold my beer on that one. You know what I mean? Like, the amount of alcoholic drinks on a weekly basis, I think, would be probably more so to 10. So if you're doing 4, all right, dude, whatever. But I still don't understand anyone that enjoys the taste of something that you can tell is incredibly filled with not good shit.
Coke Zero, 0 calories, 0 sugars, right? That's what I read. That's exactly the way I want to start
I'm
this
still
podcast.
just as confused as we started.
I was hoping this would be somewhat of an intervention, and you gave me that exactly. James, man, how's your weekend? Weekend, like, the weather's getting a hell of a lot better.
It was good, yeah. I mean, I'm still trying to just be outside as much as I can. Biking, running, that kind of jazz, yeah. Picking up the mileage and all that, but
that's good.
Yeah, just trying to stay active, you know. I went downtown too. I had a beer with a buddy. That's funny you say that. I had a beer with a buddy.
Did you go to the dining?
I did, yeah.
Wolf? Yeah.
Dude, it's a very amazing idea.
Yeah.
I love the idea. I love the initiative. I love it. Everything that's going on down there. It's awesome. I'm a little hesitant to say that it's not the same thing as all of us being in a room.
Right.
At certain times, and I'm just being honest. You know, I think points where you're just really close to people at times. Mm-hmm. It's just kind of how it goes. And I get you can wear a mask and all that, so on and so forth. But an incredible attempt, at least by Guelph, to try something different, and I'm all for it.
No, kudos to them.
It was definitely a cool experience seeing that, just like the entire downtown streets be shut down and all that. So.
You know what? I wasn't like I thought the idea of it was really cool initially because I've been to Italy and I really like it's a very general same setup, right? Like you see that on the streets, right? You don't see cars, people are walking through and whatnot, and I was all for it because I'm like, this is kind of new and you're being innovative. And then for me, it was like, I'm not really a big patio guy to begin with, and I'm still not ready to be in big crowds. But then a part of me started thinking about small businesses, all these waiters and waitresses that have been out of jobs,
yeah,
and you just there's so much more. It's a bigger picture, right? That you have to start to think about, and it's good to see that the businesses down there are starting to thrive again, right?
100%. And you would say you're not a patio person because you don't consume alcohol.
Well, I think that's a big part of it. I've personally never understood, like, there's a certain, like, itch that a lot of people have with patios that I've never understood.
Yeah.
Like the idea of just.
Well, it's tough, right? You're just talking about a group of half alcoholics and half people like being outside, and it's kind of a combination of the two. So like, but no, it's interesting that you associate alcohol with the patio enjoyment.
Yeah, because like I don't know, like say if I want food, I'm not like I need to be on a patio.
On a patio,
like,
you just
like
be
I'm
inside.
okay with being inside
Who
as
cares?
well, right?
Right.
But I don't know. I also think that I get out a lot more than a lot of people that I know. As well, right.
Of course.
So maybe that's the difference, right?
Exactly.
Especially with Blog Teal.
If you're doing it once a week and something like that, then maybe it's more of a thing.
Exactly. So and I
not everyone gets to go to Toronto every day like you.
Well, I understand that whole saying of living for the weekend, right? Like I get that mentality. A lot of people, like you said, like myself, don't have the luxury of kind of picking your schedule. So
being driven around Toronto all the time and doing cool stuff.
Let's not make this about me anymore. So with the good weather and the patios, we got sports coming around. All right, so we got baseball on Thursday. We got basketball next Thursday as well.
Oh, damn.
And the NHL starts on Friday also. So I kind of wanted to lead with baseball, and I know that's kind of odd given my vast knowledge of baseball, but the Blue Jays were kind of put in a particular situation this week, and kind of weird. Last minute, the government decides to tell them you can't play at the Rogers Center anymore. So I just meshed it.
You just meshed it. Yeah, Sky Dome, Rogers Center. That's okay.
You can't play at the Dome anymore, and now they've winded it down to 5 potential cities. Pittsburgh and Baltimore seem to be the favorite right now. Do you think this is a case of just like the clusterfuck that the MLB is right now, or do you think the government just screwed them over?
I think you can easily make the assumption of the government like taking this kind of stance against sports right now and having that kind of claim. I do genuinely.
But that's weird because Toronto's going to be one of the hubs for the NHL, right?
Right. It's hard for me to believe that anyone in the government stance is really, really, really caring about that news right now. And we're a sports podcast. You and I love sports, man, but if I'm the prime minister and someone says, hey, these guys want to play baseball here, I would say, shut the fuck up and get in line kind of thing. Like, we have much, much worse issues.
Right.
And I think this kind of speaks to what's happening with the CFL as well. They're completely in limbo. There's a decision coming on the 23rd, I believe, is the date that they've finalized, and they have to decide something. And they're saying, like, well, Trudeau's not helping this and that. And it's like, I understand that perspective and that stance, and I don't necessarily, it could be correct. But, man, you think he's really fucking worried about the Jays playing a home game right now?
Right.
It just seems like it's not his.
The concern is all these American players coming into Toronto and playing their away games.
Of course, and that's something that you're gonna face no matter how we do this, anyways. So I don't know. The hub city seems to be the way to do it. Leave it at that. I get that it sucks, and maybe we want to see our government back sports a bit more and maybe push for that or care for that, sure. But in a time of pandemic, man, I'm not really, looking at this as exactly. I'm not looking at it in a certain order of things.
Now, from Jay's prospect perspective, obviously you would know more about than I do. All I know is Vladdy, Bo, and that new guy, what is it, Matthews?
Austin
I don't know if it's Austin or Matthews. I just know it's one of the two.
Austin Matthews, Austin Martin now.
So there we go.
We have both, yeah.
So other than that, is there a lot of optimism for this Jays team and what they can do?
Yeah, man. I mean, this is the thing that I think with baseball and fans and where baseball is like we're forgetting these exact... This question bothers me. And it bothers me not... personal sense to you, but from a point of look who won the fucking World Series last year. Everyone's got something to do. Like, it's baseball, bro. The best team will actually genuinely win the fucking championship. You don't need the guy that's having the best year.
Right.
Like, I would argue if you went back in the archives as history goes on, the MVP of baseball each season probably doesn't even come close to a World Series. I would imagine that those guys winning those awards there's completely no consistency whatsoever to that.
Right.
So I would say that yes, they're incredibly young. They don't have the leaders or the depth in the bullpen, but depth in the starting lineup that you would like to see in a World Series contender. But man, in a 66 game series, you got a bunch of fucking good baseball players. I'm telling you, they're young, and Grichuk as well in the outfield. They got athletic guys in the outfield. They got good infielders. It's going to depend on bats and pitching, really, and that's kind of what it comes down to for most teams throughout a whole season. But
sounds like the most obvious statement, bats
right,
or pitching.
Exactly. But it's about heat, man, and it's about when you're hot, and especially now with 66 games, like when's your pitching hot? When are your bats hot? Wait,
does a condensed season benefit an older team or a younger team?
A younger team. Yeah. I think so. I think baseball,
because younger players tend to go into those ruts, especially in baseball, right?
For sure. But experienced guys, I think, I just think experience right now kind of sucks in baseball because you've been doing the 162 forever. There's really never been a flip. There's not like pauses, or there hasn't been a lockout recently, like in basketball they had like a lockout, and they had a bit of that. They had like a later start the one year and all this stuff, and there's annoying shit. Baseball, man, it's really, really, really different now. And you can get dumb lucky for 60 games. Like, don't get me wrong, you can be a first-year guy. Austin Martin can go hit 300 for 40 games, no problem. Before anyone realizes that he can't hit a certain slider, or they don't have this certain read on him yet.
Right.
There's certain aspects of players that you won't actually be able to get a full grouping of data over 66 games when you compare it to past time. So
that's a really good point. I never thought about it that way. The fact that like you're gonna have less tape and less time to make adjustments, right? And you're still, and then with the condensed schedule, you're seeing a shorter amount of teams, right?
And a consistently joked about most important statistical game, like baseball stats it's the most important sports for stats. I mean, in a season where you have not even half those games now, we just assume those quantitative measurements and those averages and stuff are going to be the same. Like, I think we're going to see some different stuff for sure. And experience or not, I don't know if it matters.
And do you still think Astro players are going to get hucked at?
I think yes. I don't know what it sucks. The response now to Astro players this season from what happened with the pandemic and the riots and everything, now it's not going to be what it could have been, because we wanted full stadiums booing. I wanted full I wanted eggs coming from the 500s. I wanted that. I really did. So
they're not going to get the thrashing that we all had entailed or had hoped for, right?
No, man. And now if you tell me Altuve has to take a hit pitch twice a week for the whole time, he's like, oh, I don't give a shit. It's like, whatever. That's nothing compared to the harassment they were going to have to deal with 50,000 fans every stadium that they were in.
Because it'll literally be a road show every day for those guys, right? Unless they're playing at home.
This hurts me to say this, but if you want to talk about a team that, like, if experience is going to matter, this Houston Astros team is going to probably run house this whole fucking year.
Yeah, you think so, eh?
Like, they're incredibly talented, right? They're incredibly talented. They've had multiple years now where they've been playing very deep. This is the longest offseason they've had. They've had this time now to stop worrying about the fact they have cheating. Yeah, man, I'm a little worried about how good they're going to be, to be honest.
Wow, that's really interesting.
It sucks. It
really does suck, especially if you're a diehard baseball fan.
Yeah,
the Dave Aubreys of the world, other guys that I know, have the exact same sentiments as you do, right?
I want them to go 0-66, but there's a better chance of them going 56-10, I think. Right. So
who are the three teams that you would say are at the top of the totem pole?
Yankees for sure, right? On paper, you do what you do like that. I mean, dude, it seems like I say this every 3 or 4 years. Like, oh, they haven't done this before on paper. This is now the newest best team on paper. This is the newest best team on paper. The Yankees got to be in it, but again, I don't see this big ball kind of concept or strategy kind of going long term in a 66 game season either. I like Boston. Again, that's kind of, AL East, always so competitive. I think you also have to give back love to Washington as well. I mean, they were able to come together like that, put a huge playoff run, something that they got that win. Now they've had all this time off. Usually when you do win, maybe there's a bit of like, I don't want to go back to a season yet. But now, being a reigning champion for a pandemic season, we haven't actually had an experience with before. So maybe that's a huge advantage. Maybe that was massive for Washington. Maybe they stopped partying 2 months ago. You know what I mean? And now they're like, hey, I could do another one of those. Like, I like Washington. The NL teams are tough, man. Really, like with baseball, like every sport, whatever you think going in usually changes pretty quick. But with baseball, almost more than anything. But the main teams will be there at the end. Your Yankees, your Boston. The AL East will have 3 guys that'll be very strong teams. San Francisco will make some noise at certain points. You're going to have like a weird team like a Washington or something like that pop out too.
Right. You say weird, and they were in the
exactly.
in the World Series last year.
They were, you know, on paper again one of the worst teams in the MLB at the start of the season last year.
Right.
So it really doesn't necessarily consistently mean anything.
Right. All right. Well, the season for the Jays begins on Friday, and they kick it off against the Rays. I can't tell if it's a home game or away game. So they'll be in Tampa, right? And hopefully they'll have found a home at that point.
My early call is for anyone watching Jays, Bo Bichette. If he isn't your favorite guy, he will have his best year and be your favorite guy.
Do you do fantasy baseball?
I would love to, but I don't have enough. I don't have the networking of baseball
you don't have friends.
watchers.
No, I get that. That's completely understandable. Just say, call spade a spade. I get it. It makes sense.
I have acquaintances. I don't have friends.
You know what? I might dabble in that. Maybe we should do that. Maybe we should do fantasy baseball.
I would absolutely love to. And dude, it's the best one to play in.
Right.
I haven't watched baseball my whole life.
Especially with condensed season. I think one of the reasons I've hated fantasy baseball in the past is I don't want
forever.
to be tuned in for 5 or 6 months, right?
I would like us to actually commit to this right now, and hopefully this would grow your enjoyment for the game.
You know what? Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Hopefully I can find enough people. I've been between...
Maybe let's bring it up to this. Like, put it on the pod.
Yeah, if you want to join our fantasy baseball team, I mean, we're going to have to turn it around pretty damn quick.
100%.
So I'll drop this tomorrow. DM either one of us.
Yeah.
Twitter, Instagram, whatever. Also, I have my email address, the details at gmail.com. Let's set it up. I love it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Fantasy baseball. I'm down.
Yeah.
That's great. So with baseball... There's hockey as well, but of course basketball is on the forefront right now, especially with all the bubble stuff that's emerging.
Do you want to briefly touch hockey? Because we're not going to talk about it for long, probably.
Sure. What do you want to talk about hockey? You bring up what you'd like to talk about.
I don't know. I just think going into this right now, if you're a Leaf fan, this is an interesting little series of events that could happen here. Hockey, we always talk about, there's no seeds matter. Seeds never matter in playoffs. It's always about where you are, who's hot, when you're hot, all that jazz. You know, as Leafs fans, before the stop, we had a lot of D injuries. There were a couple guys on offense that didn't look that good, all this stuff. Now we're seeing like little bits of scrimmages. Makhayev's back. He looks good. Tavares, Marner, and Matthews are playing on a similar line. This is a fun time to be a Leafs fan, man. I think it'd be a fun time to bet, too. It'd be an interesting time for you, I think, to hop in there.
Dude, I put money on the Leafs when the season started, so I'm hoping.
You're right, and I mean, as this kind of progresses and as this playoff series goes, I think this might be, if you don't know anything but like live sports, hockey is probably going to be the most fun playoff for you to watch, just for bang for buck, because I'm so curious to see how a league filled with people that naturally play into shape for decades and past are now just gonna see.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
it'll be interesting to see who's able to just pick it up, right?
It's an extremely different thing when you're not ready, and I would imagine a ton of those guys weren't really ready for the past couple months.
I think the Washington Capitals, one of their players did a TikTok, and I saw some of the players, and Ovechkin was one of them, and I'm like, they don't look like... I don't know, because I don't normally watch hockey. Is that normal hockey shape, right?
Good. Yeah.
So I was curious about that, but we talked about this. We talked about the fact that this second chance at the season for the Leafs is going to be extremely beneficial because they're healthy. All this contract dispute that they had is out of the way, and obviously all that Babcock drama is gone now. And now they have their head coach, and they go to a fresh training camp with his mentality and his philosophy and follow suit, right? And then also we talked about how being in hockey shape in the off season is a lot more difficult when you don't have ice time, right? Than basketball, because basketball you can just pick up, you can go out on the street, you can kind of do your drills. Obviously, be a little different, factor in wind and stuff like that. That's one thing I've learned. I've been shooting around in the mornings. If the wind is out, it totally throws you off, right? But that's completely different discussion. That comeback story is for another day.
Oh God!
But it's different, right? And I think one of the things I've noticed is baseball, football, hockey, they've been getting shit about how they're handling and coming back. But it is so much harder for them because they have to play in their facility. They can't play in an isolated bubble like the NBA can, right? And that's why I think Adam Silver, as much praise as he should be getting for handling everything right and taking all the safety protocols, all that sort of stuff, I'm sure a lot of the GMs are looking at Adam Silver and being like, I wish I was in his shoes right now. I wish I had basketball.
It's a great point to bring up because we seemingly want to just abandon the idea that we don't know what it takes to play the game sometimes. Like basketball, dude, They just need a ball.
And
like
a
the
hoop.
nets in the court are
Right.
quite easy to put wherever you got to put. Hockey things are challenging now.
Right.
Like this changes things. Like it's a completely different animal. Football, same thing.
Yeah, I'm curious as to like what league will go up in flames first when they come back, right? Obviously, you know, the NFL players have come out and already called out Goodell for not taking the proper safety protocols, because I'm sure maybe behind the scenes a lot of, you know, stuff is coming up, and whether guys are testing positive and we don't know about it yet. NHL, like I'm no doctor, but like, you know, when I think of flu, I think of cold. You're playing on ice. Like, does it? I might sound stupid, but like, is there some sort of
No, I
science
get it.
behind that, right?
Right.
Like, I'm curious about all these sort of things with baseball, right? It's great to see that these players are playing with their masks on, right, when they're batting. It is definitely very weird to see. But there was a player that came out the other day, and I don't know what team, but he came on his press conference after spring training, and he said, the masks do suck, but then once you've played with it a couple times, you're just immune to it, and like that's all it takes is just playing with a couple weeks, and then it just becomes the norm. Like even me throwing a mask on now is,
Yeah.
I don't even think twice about it.
Yeah, it's interesting.
You're still on that conspiracy bed though, aren't you?
I'm stirring my thoughts here with what I want to say, because I feel like you're making a incredible point, and I don't disagree with anything you're saying. I think, at what point are you okay with like the altercation of what we already know? I just don't understand the excessive use of things when we should already know we're cleared. Like, why are you wearing a mask when I thought it was already adjourned that we're all
Right.
Like, I don't understand the point A to point B there.
Right.
When we have guys that are testing negative and then they're wearing masks and gloves everywhere.
That's a great point.
Just don't know. I don't get why we can't.
Well, it's the reason why NBA players won't be playing against each other with masks on, because they've been tested twice a day, right? They know for sure that these guys don't have it.
Perfect.
Right.
All good. Like, because I think, as much as we like to say anything, do you know what I mean? It's a very different thing for us to claim. It's very easy to separate germs in this sport. It's very hard to separate germs in this sport. Man, I threw a football however many times a game, or I touched a football however many times a game. I lick my fingers.
You lick your fingers, yeah.
Times 400,000 of that number. So my DNA is all over the football field. You know, like now looking back, now in today's day and age, you can take this little clip and say this guy's a piece of shit. I've just spread my germs over the entire football field, which of course I did at Guelph. Mm-hmm. Baseball, you know, pitchers, same thing. Guys in the field, same thing.
But the licking is no different than sweat and perspirating on these basketballs, these footballs, the baseballs, the gloves,
right,
whatever
which
it
is
may be,
constantly happening without even us know. Like, the amount of germs that you pass on that you don't know is my issue with this entire thing. Mm. That's my problem, is that I think if you're going to do something, you're supposed to do it. So that's where I have this huge overlap of information, because this is why I think you should just sign a waiver and be okay with the opportunity to receive the disease. Mm-hmm. And I know that's like a weird way to word it, but I'm just saying like that to me makes more sense, because I think all of this is false. I think all of it's a lie. I think it's all, you're not actually keeping everyone completely 100% safe. It's impossible. Like, but of course you are not. You know what I mean? It's impossible for Adam Silver to say that. Mm-hmm. So that's where I'm just very confused on that, because I don't want to see baseball players wear masks, man. I think at a certain point with the masks and in certain groups of society and communities, of course, that's not what we're talking about whatsoever. We're talking about guys that have been completely tested negative, that are put into a room that no one else is allowed in, that unless you've been tested negative. Mm-hmm. So that's where I just say, I don't like this like promotion of let's make masks normal. Let's be used to wearing masks. Let's
in sports, let's specify that.
Of course,
right.
yeah, but also like the reason we want you to get back to sports is for you guys to help us feel normal again, and improve the normalcy in communities and society, and then also now further the message of Black Lives Matter. That is again one of the reasons we want you back, of course, not to forget that. But like now when I just see masks everywhere, man, it just seems like we're pushing fear upon everybody. You know, you just see like, I want to see an empty stadium with no one wearing masks playing baseball to know we can get back to that.
There is hope.
We can get back to that, and we can get back to the society that surrounds that. And again, if you want to wear masks in the stands until the end of my life, I don't care. That's your thing. But we should have there should be some positive hope being provided. Like, hey, I remember that. You know, right. I used to go there and watch that. That's still the same game that I used to see. It's not robotic and everyone's wearing masks and they have to walk through sanitization stations before they go to the bat Like, it's just too many things for me just gets too fucking weird.
Well, I think you make a great point, because we're watching UFC and there is that sense of hope, right? Like, that we can get back to this. I think with all the sports coming back, we'll slowly start to feel that way as well. But I get that. I get that symbol, right? Of you know, if I have to see masks everywhere, then there's no hope for this to come back. And I mean, like, there's reason to believe that, you know, we might not get a level of normalcy till 2022, whatever it may be, right? But what you're saying is these guys are in their peak position, right? There's millions and millions of dollars being put into their health and wellness, and to check frequently to make sure that they are okay. So I can completely resonate with that, and I completely understand that.
It just seems like it doesn't make, like, why would I wouldn't spend 4 hours to prepare for this podcast on these notes if I didn't fucking read the notes. I just don't get why you do all these things, but at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, but, you know, we're 85 percentile safe. What? Like, yeah, that's great. You guys are taking measures, of course, and everyone just, like, again, seemingly blindly, just happily, yeah, the NBA is doing amazing, we're taking the measures. Right, of course. But what's the reality?
Right.
The through and through reality, because guys are still getting it.
Right.
So, okay.
Well, and a great thing that could come out of this is if we get through this shortened NBA, you know, postseason, season, whatever, and all these other sports, and, you know, only, I don't know, a handful of guys test positive, that will give us reason to believe that we can get back to that, right?
Of course.
So that's the hope. Hopefully, like, the leagues don't fall and, you know, 50% of these rosters don't get clipped, because then, again, that'll give us reason to believe, like, if you do things properly, like, you know, it's so funny to me. I say to a lot of people all the time, like, I'll run into people and they're like, yeah, now I'm washing my hands, you know, every time I get back in my house, and, you know, I'm sanitizing, and I'm like, that's normal human function. Like, that you should be washing your hands every time you get back in the house anyways. Like, that shouldn't be anything.
Oh, you
new,
mean
right?
You clean yourself?
Yeah, exactly. Like, why is that now
right.
normal for you to do?
Right.
So I do think that is funny in that sense.
It's yeah. I'm not a pessimist on this at all, and I know you're like poking jokes. I don't believe in it's not a conspiracy theory or anything like that. I just think, like, there's absolutely no positive promotion of groups of people right now. You know what I mean? And it's just fucking weird to not be able to go see something like that.
Right.
That we're so accustomed to, and part of why you and I love sports is we can just forget about things for 2 hours and watch sports,
Absolutely.
man. And I don't want to be looking at dudes wearing masks thinking about things that I'm always thinking about now.
Like, it's so weird that the Raptors, so they released their broadcast schedule for the upcoming couple of weeks, and they're telecasting their scrimmages on Friday, Monday, Tuesday, something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm stoked to watch a scrimmage.
100%.
Like, my Friday nights are right off at this point,
Yeah.
because I know I'm going to be watching Raptors basketball against Houston in a scrimmage.
Exactly.
But that's because we've had nothing. Promising to talk about, or nothing fulfilling to talk about in the last couple months.
Dude, and when was the last time you saw more than 5 people that was, like, not shunned? Like,
Right.
on all these news stations, right? It's always like these groups of rioters, this is bad, they're gonna, you know, spread all this, all that. It's all negative. Everything's negative, negative, negative. It's like, this is gonna be great to see a tournament of however many teams playing, and no one's dead, and no one's dying, and there's no burning, and nothing's happening bad, you know? It's just like, we need something like this right now.
Right.
We do.
So I want to ask you an interesting question, and this comes from Kiyomi, who listens to this podcast. She sent me this morning. She's like, you guys got to talk about this. So the bubble's, like, all over the internet right now. Like, you know, you talk about that, like, you know, that joy and getting those, like, serotonin or whatever.
People like it.
Getting into you. Like, it makes you feel good, right? It's like watching a bunch of grown men at camp right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just what they're doing and how they're engaging, and it's only that basketball community. So she said to me, what do you think, if you were in the bubble right now, if you were an NBA athlete, what would you be doing to kill time, and what shape would you have come back into the bubble with?
Okay, that would depend. The shape, I would go back. I would come into better shape.
Better shape?
Yes, for sure. Knowing me, if I'm alone for 3 months,
yeah,
I'm going to go psycho over it. But, man, the thing about how you kill your time is super...
It's interesting, right? Like, would you be the fishing one? Would you be the video game one? Would you...
I'd be the fishing dude, yeah.
Lawn bowling?
I'm also the... Like, I think,
hanging with Mickey? Like...
I think I'd be 60-40 fishing, and then, like, that dude that just, like, constantly posted by the pool. Sometimes in, sometimes not. Just hanging out. Not
You're like JJ
reading.
Redick. Are you crushing beers too?
No, I'm not crushing beers. But, you know, like chilling, reading by the pool, maybe talking to somebody. just trying to like not just laying back, you know.
So for me, it's a twofold thing, because like I think if I was a paid athlete, I think I would be coming. I don't know if I'd be coming in better shape, but I would be in shape, just given my competitive nature and all that sort of stuff. But the person I am right now, I definitely would be, you know,
worse shape?
I'd be the opposite of Jokic and Marc Gasol.
I think it's like, dude, if you're a professional athlete and you had all that time off and you came back looking worse, I think that just looks awful on your character.
Terrible on you, right?
Yeah, your character.
I could not agree with you more, right?
It just looks ugly.
Right.
So that's why I think you would too. You would.
I think if it was my livelihood and I had nothing better to do, right? Like, given my creative interests, I'd probably be vlogging and doing all that sort of stuff, in that 5-month span. But I also know that I'm getting paid. Like, this is my job to stay in shape.
With that being said, I think it would. I don't know why all those guys haven't tried and started a YouTube channel.
Oh yeah, well, the guy from the Sixers, Tabulin or so whatever his name is.
Mabaya Mute.
No, not him. It's
oh, I know. Okay, yeah.
Curly-haired guy, Afro. I can't remember his name, but he's the one he made a TikTok account, started going viral, and his TikToks were. I'm not the biggest fan of TikTok, but he was pure genius with his TikTok, and now he's elevated his brand, and now he's vlogging everything, right?
I just think with the amount of opportunity you have in today's day and age with the media and online like that, like the amount of people that are gonna chomp at the bit to look at this stuff, you can get easily a few million views, and that turns into money.
And right now, it's prime to do that, because we want to live vicariously through those guys. What is the bubble life like, right?
Yeah, I was gonna make a call that I thought LeBron would be more active in this, but yeah, it seems like he's pretty locked in.
I think he 100% is locked in. Oh, absolutely. I think
which I like,
right,
and I respect. So
well, and I don't think he wants the perception of this being a camp. Like, I don't think he wants it to be a good time, especially with everything that's going on outside the world, right? I don't think that would, like, it wouldn't shadow a great cast on him.
I thought for his, you know, like, just the business idea in my mind, like, I don't know why you wouldn't, with his production company, have a podcast every Friday where you just talk to 5 other guys are different. Like, no, you can't be on the same team. You got to come in once a week. Whatever.
I saw a great tweet. You know, they're building that barber shop on campus, right?
Yeah.
Like, why don't you just move your show there, right?
Well, that's like, but again, I think he probably thought about all that stuff before, and then was like, nah, I'm gonna fucking hunker down
and get this chip.
Yeah. That's what it looks like, at least.
Absolutely. And I never answered the question, but I think very similar to you. I think I'd be the fishing. I'd be walking around. Yeah. Like, I couldn't be cooped up in there.
I can't be in that damn room forever. No. Yeah.
I'd probably be binging a lot of Netflix, though, because I love my movies.
But I'm also not 6, and I have the patience to wait for the skip the dishes dude to cross the fucking line at Disney World.
Absurd, right?
Like, what the fuck was that about?
That's like, it's so embarrassing. I'm waiting for the first guy to get caught with a woman, because you know that's going to happen.
Oh my god!
Don't even want to go there.
I mean, but also I would be more upset if someone didn't get. What are they gonna do, man? Human nature, dude. However many months,
it's gonna happen.
Human nature. However many months these guys are on their own, it's gonna happen.
You know what's gonna happen? Some girl is gonna put herself in a Donald Duck mascot or a Mickey Mouse hat, show up at the guy's door, and that's gonna be it. They're gonna get caught. What do you think about this snitch hotline?
I think if you want to take the time out of your day to ruin someone else's, fuck you. That's what I think.
I didn't even finish the sentence.
That's all I think. Done. I have nothing else to say about that question.
So you have the John Moran mentality when it comes to that.
110%.
Yeah.
Mind your damn business.
I don't know. I hate Dwight Howard, so I probably would have snitched on him too.
Yeah.
I want to know.
Bro, this is my thing. Yo, he wasn't wearing his mask. He tested fucking negative, dude. So what now?
Yeah.
What do you mean he's not wearing? Of course he's not wearing his mask.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's a perfect example.
Bro, if I just popped out of a COVID test, you know, and the doctor was like, "Okay, put your mask," I'm like, "Well, hold up, let me celebrate for a second. I'm negative. What do you mean?"
We're like 30 minutes in, and you definitely broke your like F-bomb capacity at this point. Your poor parents. Now, okay, I quickly, before we I wanted to talk about awards, right? Because the league did announce that everything prior to March 11th will be. And
on that, do you think is the right way to do it?
Yes.
I think so, right?
I think, yeah.
You couldn't let it...
Because then you could talk about a possible asterisk for those awards, right? Like, then you're just like, okay, this is shady, right? Like, someone could go off in those 8 games and then it just be whatever.
Exactly.
But, I wanted to ask you about some of your, your bubble takeaways right now, right? You know, you've seen a ton of bromancing. Like, the Mavericks, I think, are a perfect example. Like, you see them really gelling, and I think that'll really come to fruition when they start playing again, right? Like they're playing badminton, they're playing, what is that game where you throw the ball into the net? Spike ball. Sorry, wow, I'm old. Spike ball, like all these things. Like you see Luka having really a lot of fun with these guys, right? And I think it's really bringing out the camaraderie that you want in your team, right?
Yeah, I think you're, speaking to that too. It's funny how you always see Luka involved.
Yeah.
Which I think you're kind of speaking to a greater point where I think this guy's gonna, you're really, what we have in front of us is a LeBron-like figure as far as like a teammate
and likability.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that again. Like everyone, I'm scared to compare people. Like I'm comparing it in a complete sense of teammate. Like a guy that is a fun, caring dude, wants to have some fun, but he's also the most skilled guy here, and we all know it, and it's his team. So seeing him and that team kind of. Yeah, dude, I like what I'm seeing out of that because I think that's still a team that can make some moves in the Western Conference and upset a couple guys as well.
Right. I mentioned him earlier, Sean, who I had at length. Well, I always have at length conversations with him when it comes to basketball. But he's like, Luka's really cementing himself as that guy that you want as your friend. But then he's an absolute dog on the court, kind of like Giannis and LeBron and those guys, right? Like a guy that you could get along with and have a blast with off the court. But then when you get between those four lines, you know who you have.
And he's a top 5.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The Dallas Mavericks are my favorite dark horse for Bradley Beal to go to.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think that'd be... I think Luka's such a guy that can take one of those CJ McCollum, Brad Beal type scorers because I don't think he would actually care if he didn't have the ball that much. Like, I think Devin Booker could play with him too. You know what I mean? I think he's a LeBron-like. He'll just find another way to be better than anybody else at something else.
So it's really interesting you brought this up because the one thing I started thinking about when I thought about this bubble idea is, the All-Star game is kind of notorious for super teams starting to merge, right? You finally get to play with these guys like you've always envisioned yourself. You got to have those conversations without, the quote-unquote tampering. And so now you're in this bubble, right? And it's just you and the players. Like I was listening to a player the other day, and I can't remember who it was. It wasn't Pat Bev, but it was somebody, and they're just like, it's so interesting that you go to the hotel or you go to these hotel lobbies and you just see LeBron chilling there, and he doesn't have to worry about running into anyone, any fans, any media. Like he can just be himself, and that's an opportune time for you to just go sit down and be like, hey, Bron, what's up? Like, what are you saying? Right? Like all those conversations are going to happen. And I love that you say that because, the 2020 free agent class isn't as lucrative as the 2021 one, but, you guys have guys like AD, Harrell, Serge, Otto Porter Jr., Conley, Hayward, and a lot of these guys have options. So they're probably going to opt in, because we talked about the salary cap and the CBA kind of being really fucked up next year because, there's not going to be as much money to spend. But the 2021 class, and we've talked about this a lot, is headlined by Giannis. Mm-hmm. Then you have a possible LeBron, Kawhi, George, Drew Holiday, Bradley Beal, Gobert, Oladipo. Like these are a lot of big names. Yeah. Aldridge, Chris Paul. Like something is going to come out of this. Like we're going to get to 2021. A team's going to form, and we're going to be like, it was all because of that bubble.
Well, yeah, you bring up another point that they didn't even like. That wasn't probably even much thought about before this whole thing started. And still hasn't even thought of. I'm sure, but. Look at what Toronto did to their little, their little room, their little, like, if you're a GM or if a player or a guy president of basketball operations, there is going to be holes in here that they didn't think about. Mm. You know what I mean? Like the NBA will have missed something. Yeah. And you got to be active here and find a way to do that. Find a way to get Giannis playing euchre with Pascal and those guys every night. Like find a way to run a poker table where, again, like it's just networking, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I think you speak to an incredible point. I mean, we talk about, I think Durant always spoke about his relationship with Curry was like probably the main reason he went to Golden State even to begin with, because he wanted to actually play with that guy. Man, if you never met a dude before, you don't know if you're going to click with him, You don't know. You can meet people randomly like best friends. Yeah. Okay, well, we're both free agents in 2 years.
I mean, you and me go fishing together. We're on opposite teams.
Do you know what I mean?
There's some sort of something that clicks there, right?
It seems to be one of those things. And I think Paul George going over to OKC, originally from Indiana, didn't know he was going to like Russell Westbrook. Mm. They ended up being boys. He signed there. Right. I mean, it's the same concept. Mm-hmm. So it's a very interesting point by you. And I think the little Bubble Life Twitter account might eventually start kind of showing a couple of those relationships. Maybe we'll see guys hanging out more often. Who knows?
And you bring a great point with the Raptors, because the Raptors have nailed this. They've done everything right since they got there, especially just establishing the culture, right? Started with the buses, started with the T-shirts, the backdrop, like little things like that. They're the level of their lobby, I think is what you're alluding to, right?
The only sure thing about the year of 2020 is that the Toronto Raptors are in fucking amazing hands. That's about the only fact I know about this year. Like that,
they can't do wrong
right
now.
They've done incredible through and through.
Like, you know what I'm expecting them to do, and they probably won't do it, but the names on the back of the jerseys, like, I could see the Raptors coming out of that and all having the same thing on their back.
Yes.
Or, you know, maybe they decide to go with their names and they have an elaborate reason for it. Like, they're going to have something creative pulled off.
Speaking about that topic, I love what Jimmy Butler did.
But you saw that the NBA's saying that he can't do that.
Really?
Yeah. So, unfortunately, the NBA said because of, I don't know, licensing, whatever, he has to have some sort of text on there.
That's so stupid.
But I totally agree with you.
I loved it.
His analogy and thought process behind that was genius.
It was perfect, I thought. I thought it was fantastic. Let's all get on board on this one.
Yeah. So unfortunately, that's not the case, because I thought that would have been a great case for the Raptors to take all their names off and just be the number on their back, right? Like that would have been cool. And again, like these are things that players think about. I want to play for that type of franchise that's forward thinking and looking out for their players. So
no, and man, like again, to intertwine the 2 points that you just made, talking about how good Masai's been in this place and how much tampering could go on, like the people are taking notice of that.
Totally.
Like you're taking notice of that.
Right.
You see it. You see it on social media. You see it in real life. You hear about it. Every time you see a Toronto guy, he's always smiling. They're always joking with each other.
Right.
Like, these things they add up for sure, 100%.
No, and the Raptors are smart in their own sense. They're very calculated. I mean, Drake is like another perfect example of a guy that always thinks about these things. He's sending candles to all the players on the team, and I mean, I'm sure a lot of players would be like, I want to be that close to Drake, right?
Dude, and I love, and like, oh my god, I love. So this is another thing that social media does. We see something like that, and we're like, oh man, it's so cool how like Drake called Lowry, K-Low, hey. He didn't fucking send those things himself. You know what I mean?
You don't think he spent the time to write those all out?
No. I know Drake loves the guys, all right? I get it. But he made a call, okay?
Right.
He made a call.
You don't think he was in the bubble?
I just don't think it took Drake a ton of time out of his day to make sure if you guys got some fucking candles. So let's relax on that. All right.
Bursted my bubble there.
Well, you know, Drake's such a good ambassador. No, Kelly, the assistant that just got the candles, was nice.
But he put the thought into it, I'm sure. He's like, what can I do for these guys? I would have liked to see something more than candles and set the ambiance.
I have $700 million. All right, let's give them all $3 candles. All right, whatever. Listen, it was a nice gesture, but I'm just saying, relax. Man.
He knows he might get a lady in the room. The candles might set the mood. You never know, right? All right, so James, I want to get into this discussion about NBA awards. So, like I said prior, the NBA has decided that prior to March 11th is when you're thinking about who you're voting for. You have to think about all the games prior to the pandemic. Now, this is interesting because I think this solidifies a lot of who we're going to pick, because I think a lot of guys were building momentum towards the end of the season, whether it was Zion Williamson, LeBron James, Billy Donovan is another perfect example. So where do I start with this? Let's go from bottom top. You can tell me who you think should win, and then we can talk about some of the runner-ups.
Why don't we change the order up here and let you go first this time?
You want me to go first?
Yeah, I do.
All right, so we'll start with Rookie of the Year. For me, I think it's a no-brainer. I think it's John Morant.
Okay, good.
Well,
I was like, at first, I could see you saying a Z here, but
Z only played 19 games, and
yeah. You don't have to.
And in those 19 games, I don't think there's much question, right? In those 19 games, I mean, he's phenomenal. 23.6 points per game, 6.8 rebounds per game, and he had 20 games of 20 plus or more points, right? Sorry, 20. No, he had 20 plus more points in 16 games of the 20 games that the 19 games that he played. I'm so sorry. Which is incredible for a short amount of time.
He's arguably been better than John Morant when we've seen him.
Right.
You could say that, like as far as individual talent.
Right. But John Morant's played a full season. Up to this point, 17.6 points per game, 6.9 assists per game, which leads all rookies. And he had 20 games with 20 plus points as well. And then I think an honorable mention is Kendrick Nunn as well, right?
Oh, dude.
Who just came out of nowhere Kind of took over that starting point guard spot from Dragic, which is no easy feat in itself, right?
He doesn't get enough love at all, for sure. But I'm John Moran all the way. I mean, they shouldn't have been in the playoffs. They shouldn't be anything they shouldn't be anything. They shouldn't be what they are. Mm-hmm. And he is so fun to watch. Yeah. I mean, he has the kind of a Zion factor as well. And I wouldn't be surprised if we came out of the 8 games like seeing more John Morant than Zion and them staying in the playoffs. I think that's not the case, but I wouldn't count it out.
Right. Well, I think I've been reading the internet a lot since our last podcast, and everyone really wants that Trailblazers-Lakers matchup in the first round because...
Man, I think, it's going to be fun.
Yeah. You don't want to play that Trailblazers team, to say the least.
Yeah. It'll be fun.
So this is an interesting one, okay? Most improved player. Now, I was looking at the Vegas odds, and the 4 leading candidates are Brandon Ingram, Bam from Miami. I'm not going to try to say his last name. Adebayo or whatever. Adebayo. Wow. Adebayo. Who's Adebayo?
Your Italian cousin? I don't know.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I'm not going to go there. And then Luka Doncic and Devontae Graham is kind of a sleeper pick as well. Of those 4, unless you have someone I'm not even thinking about.
I
like this.
This is tough. You're going to get mad at me. You're not going to like it right away. Jason Tatum.
Oh, wow. Yeah, okay.
No, whatever.
Go ahead. Make your case. Make your case.
You can say all you want. But you talk about an inconsistent, a good scorer, sometimes good defensively, had a huge amount of slumps last year. What was he? Probably 20 points a game or something like that. But when again, this is how we're doing it. When the pandemic stopped, Jason Tatum was a top 10 basketball player. No?
Nah, he was in there. I mean,
right?
I'd have to list all
the
one, but
this man went head to head with Kawhi Leonard, double OT, 30-point games. He's going off, averaging this and that. If you say Luka Doncic is in the conversation, then Jason Tatum is too, in my opinion, for sure. And of the same point, you know what I mean?
For Tatum, though, I think it's the sample size. I think that, with Kemba, he took lesser of a role. He didn't have to score as much. But I think when Kemba went out, we really saw Tatum shine because the ball in the offense really had to go through him, and he had to take a lot of the last shots, and he stepped up quick. But I mean, for me personally, I think it's Brandon Ingram, just because
interesting, you do
because he was a complete I don't want to say dud in LA, but we almost wrote him off, right? We almost thought this guy could potentially be Kevin Durant, and then he really felt off, and then he had an All-Star nod this year, right? One that I did not foresee coming when they announced him on the All-Star team. It threw me off, but it was completely justified as well.
Right. I don't see him getting it, man. I don't, and I come to this...
So Tatum is your pick, but then who do you think comes out of this then?
I'm still... I think with Brandon Ingram, it's tough for me to think that he's gotten so much better. We talk about so you hit me with the Kemba thing, right? Good point. Once Kemba's out, now he had time to get better. Okay, well, what about Zion? Brandon Ingram's not better with Zion on the court. Once Zion's off the court, of course he looks better. Right. When Brandon Ingram didn't have LeBron last year, he scored 30.
Right.
He's done it this year too. I think that's the same fucking dude to me.
Right.
Same player, I think, by really no difference.
Right.
How about a little Joe Ingles?
No. Joe, really?
Listen, I'm coming from a stance right now where I don't have a clear winner.
Sorry, disrespect to Joe Johnson. I didn't mean ISO Joe.
Yeah. There's no clear winner to me.
I don't. You listen. So all of this, I have my winner, and then I have my runners up. My most improved literally says Brandon, Bam, Luka, Devontae Graham. Devontae Graham is a great case too. Unfortunately, I think what hurts him is they didn't get to the playoffs. But we did not expect Devontae Graham to have the kind of season that he had.
Yes,
especially because we thought Terry Rozier was going to be that guy.
Right. I mean that's almost the most surprise of the year. I would say having Terry Rozier doing fucking nothing. But I think what's going to happen is Bam's going to win it.
I do too. He's a Vegas favorite right now.
Yes, and he's going to win it because there's no other because there is no case for anyone else, and I understand that.
But it goes it goes with what we're talking about, because we talked about the, Kemba being in, Kemba being out, and then for Brandon Ingram, Zion being in, Zion being out. For Bam, the lineup has been consistently the same, and he's been consistently the same guy. So you may have just swayed my vote on those.
I just know how this vote is going to work. It's going to be Bam 100%, and then some guy that loves, or some guy that thinks Brandon Ingram should have stayed in the Lakers is going to vote for him too. You know what I mean? Like, it's not. I don't think it's going to be. But
so you think it's politics?
Yeah, of course. I think that's all this voting is, right? But do you really think that Bam is like a really improved guy from last? Like, I just don't. I think when you say that, it's almost disrespecting him last year. It's like, I thought he was good last year. Like, I thought Brandon Ingram was all right last year too.
This is like the only category I don't have pulled up the numbers and stats, so I can't.
But
can't help with it.
And I'm kind of talking about how this category has not had a winner this year. Like, really, there hasn't been someone that's taken it. And maybe that's the product of the stop in the season. But dude, when you list off those names now,
so okay. For Bam, all right, he plays full 82 games last year. He averages 8.9 points per game, 5.3 rebounds per game, and his per was 17.9. This year, he doubles his point total, 16.2, 8 rebounds per game, 5 assists per game, and his per is 20.6.
I mean, of course, improved, yes.
Right. But then you look at like Devontae Graham, 4.7 last year, 18.2 this year.
Yeah.
So his numbers went out, and his assists is 7.5, 2.6 last year.
I'd be surprised if you don't think Luka's numbers will probably show fucking.
Well, I have Luka here. It just doesn't say his last year numbers, but he's averaging 28.7 points per game, so a bigger increase. So 7.5 more. So 7.5 more for him, and Adebayo is 7.3. I cannot speak today, but he had 14 triple doubles this season, which is, in a category of, like, he's up there with the Oscars, the LeBrons. So I do think
he's an all-star.
An amazing case for Luka Doncic as well.
Yeah, and he's definitely an all-star. Pull up Jason Tatum's numbers out of curiosity, though. I think there's more of a case for that than anyone wants to believe.
So I can't pull up Tatum because I don't have the internet on my laptop.
Oh yeah,
whatever. But give me a second to pull that up.
It's interesting that Bam only increased that many points. And see this. So the part that I don't like with the stats is like, when you watch Bam play from last year to this year, like, how many more minutes is he getting? How much more involved is he on the offensive side of the basketball? How much less involved is he on the defensive side of the basketball? Because I would have argued that he would have been an anchor more last year for them, which would have now, this year, he's more of a focal point offensively, and they have a better team this year too. So
Tatum 15.7 last year, 23.6 this year.
Hey,
his total rebounds not changed.
What's the percentages though?
1.
Siri was listening there.
His surprising, his free throw percentage went down.
We don't need to look at that. That's okay.
His 3-point percentage, minimal. That's 373 to 398. So now he's shooting close to 40%, which is great. And his field goal percentage is exact same.
Interesting.
So I don't know if I can't help you there.
So definitely a point bump though.
Yes.
Almost 8-point bump per game, and I would say into.
And you could argue that a lot of those games, and you mentioned the Clippers game, like, he was the guy, right? They're not in those games without him. So
Bam's gonna get it. Bam doesn't not deserve it, but I just don't think that there was like a nice, fun, candid, clear one that we had this year where we usually do.
100%, and the odds reflect that, right?
Yeah.
Bam's only minus 140, Brandon's plus 260, and then it's a huge drop off from there. Luka is 550,
right.
Tatum is 1,000. So
right.
he's actually the fourth favorite. So it wasn't absurd for you to bring him up as well.
I might put down a little money on Tatum.
Well, the next category is where I'm thinking I might sprinkle some money on. So the sixth man of the year.
God, this is like.
So you know what?
This is always hard though.
Well, I don't know. It's always been Jamal Crawford or Lou Williams.
That's what
right?
I mean. It's always been hard for those two guys. It's like, fuck, I love them both so much.
Right,
Which one's a better highlight tape? I don't know.
So the Vegas favorite is Dennis Schroeder. And then Montrezl Harrell, Lou Williams, and Derrick Rose follow up. Now, initially I had Dennis Schroeder because I thought this would have been a great team award for OKC, because we've talked about how, OKC surprises. I think I had the number written. They had like a 0.2% chance of making the playoffs according to ESPN when the season started.
Yeah.
Averaging nearly 28 points off per game, which coming off the bench is huge, right? Shooting 47%, both career best.
That's such an asterisk though. Coming off the bench.
It's an asterisk, meaning?
Yeah, it's just a lineup thing.
Yeah, but like...
He still plays 30-some minutes, no?
I'd have to check for that.
I think he would play over 30 minutes a game still.
Sure.
It's just a matchup thing off the gate, right?
Right.
It's just what
it's like the whole man in Ginobili thing, right?
Right,
Basically.
exactly.
Yeah, because Ginobili ends up playing, the equivalent of starter minutes.
Yeah.
But I think for me, I'm going Montrezl Harrell. Because looking at the numbers, I was really surprised, averaging 18.6 points per game, 7.1 rebounds per game, 1.1 blocks per game. And the thing, I think this is an award for the entire bench because they have the best bench production in the league. So by giving it to either him or Lou Williams, you're kind of crediting both them and that entire bench.
I was actually going to back you on this and go Harrell as well. For a different reason, though. The Clippers are the worst matchup big men team in the NBA with the youngest center, Zubac, with the least experience defensively and offensively, where Harrell has to not only come off the bench and provide scoring, but also is their big man. Genuinely and consistently is their biggest dude. And
kind of like Clint Capella had to be for the Rockets last year, right?
And has, he plays very serious minutes, both defensively and offensively. And I think when you look into that and the effect that he has specifically on the Clippers' ability to do things is exponentially more than Schroeder with Oklahoma City and Lou Williams with the Clippers because they have alternatives for what those guys can do.
Right. So we agree on that one.
We do.
That's amazing. Okay. Wow. So
but I don't see Schroeder's going to win, though.
I don't know. The odds aren't crazy in his favor. Actually, you know what? They are in his favor. So, minus 190. So Harrell's at plus 210. So this is where I'm going to sprinkle my money on.
Right. And this is. But see, I would be shocked to see that OKC 5 seed, where they should have been the last team in the league, not get an award of something, right?
So this is. I mean,
if Billy Donovan doesn't get it as a coach,
and we're going to get to that eventually, right? Like I think we're both going to agree that Nick Nurse. I mean, let's make it our next one. So. NBA Coach of the Year, right?
Yeah, man. If it's not Nick Nurse, we're dropping hands. Like we're fighting. We're fighting out of 100%.
Yeah. And I think Billy could have benefited from maybe a late, whatever remaining games were left on this season run. But I have to say all of this, right? Because if anyone's gonna argue me, I just got to put all these numbers out here. And big shout out again to Sean because we had a discussion. I'm mentioning Sean a lot because. I talk a lot, and he also has my favorite kids on the planet, and I'm hoping my nieces never hear this, but shout out to Josh and Jace.
Damn, that's a bold move, dude.
But, okay, Sean made all these points, right? This has been an injury-riddled team, right? This is, of all the teams in the league...
This is the Raptors, correct?
The Toronto Raptors, right? He's had to do with an injury-riddled team the entire year. This is a team that's had the 5th most games missed due to injury. The other 4 teams, the Warriors, not in the playoffs. The Blazers fighting to get in the playoffs. The Pistons not in the playoffs. And the Wizards obviously have taken themselves out of the running, especially after taking Beal out of their lineup, right? 15 different starting lineups this year. That is absurd. 15 different starting lineups. And that's because...
I wish we could have what on average a team does per year, but I would guess under 10, no?
It's got to be less than 10.
You'd say 7, let's say.
100%. So you have Marc Gasol, who's missed 27 games, Fred VanVleet, 16 games. I'm mentioning all these starters, right?
Yes.
Kyle's missed 12, Serge has missed 14, Norman's missed 20, right? And he's had a great year, but he's been battling injuries last year. Then we talk about the McCaws, the Stanley Johnsons of the world. They've missed close to 20. Pascal's missed 11. It's just... You don't realize how hard this is, especially after you've lost the 2 starters in your lineup that helped you get that championship last year, right? Second best defensive net rating in the league, tied for 3rd best overall.
No, say that again, though. Just say that one more time.
Second best defensive net rating.
Right. Now, what though? Who's winning Defensive Player of the Year on the Raptors? Nobody.
Exactly, because they're basically the 04 Pistons, right?
It's a team committee effort, right? Defense.
Right, exactly.
Which, if I may also add, is what made the Warriors so untouchable when they were at their peak. I need to reiterate this again. The Warriors were untouchable not because of Steph Curry's threes, but because of their team defense.
Right, and their rotation.
That's what made everything. That was it.
So they forced the 2nd most turnovers in the NBA, 2nd most transition possessions.
Those are 2 very good statistical categories to be high in.
Absolutely. And I think 2 of the really good things, he helped turn Pascal into a star. Pascal used to be a guy, the 3rd best option on the team, sitting in the corner, waiting for his opportunity, whether he's taking a corner 3 or posting up occasionally. And then... he's running pick and pops, pick and rolls.
Picked up a basketball 5 years ago or 6 years ago.
Exactly, and he's handling the offense in a completely different manner. And that's, I'm not taking credit away from Pascal as well, but like you said, picked up basketball very late, and a lot of that has to do to great coaching.
Of course.
So I know you're not. And the other thing too I want to mention is and Sean made a great point about this as well, is Fred VanVleet is an emerging star. There could easily be egos in that locker room with him and Kyle Lowry saying, you know, I am the guy. Like, Kyle had to deal with Jose Calderon, right? Like, Kyle thought he was the better player. Jose Calderon ended up starting, and eventually we had to see Calderon go off. But these two players have been able to manage their egos, and a huge part of that is because Nick Nurse has been using them right.
Not only right, but perfect.
Mm-hmm. Damn near perfect, right?
No, I'm with you 100% on everything you just said, and I don't think whatever the favorites and the odds for the head like it couldn't be enough. I don't think it's even a remote question. I won't even listen to another opinion. I'm genuinely serious.
Yeah.
The Raptors are far and away like it's 60-40 coach players right now. You know, like that's not the case anywhere else.
Right.
The closest thing to it is 30-70 coach players. You know what I mean?
I think it's why I get rattled when people continue to call the Raptors a sleeper, because I don't know how you can call that team a sleeper.
They can't be a sleeper right now. You can't. And again, that sucks because I think a lot of those. Who's calling them a sleeper? It's, you know, there's a lot of fucking Cheeto fingers out there that just sit at home and type shit. Like, these guys are by no means in any way, shape, or form a sleeper. If anything, they are a perennial powerhouse in this circumstance. If you don't look at these guys, like, I have them favorited over Milwaukee for sure, and I do, and we talk about this all the time, Boston as well. But if you don't look at them as a true 1-2 spot in the East, and then you're just completely misunderstanding this whole thing.
Like, we forget that, so they went 21-4 in their final 25 games, including a 15-game winning streak. And again, they weren't even at full strength. They've had the last 5 months off. And they have a skinnier Gasol. They have a jacked up Matt Thomas. And even Boucher's put on like 10 to 12 pounds of muscle.
You're forgetting that they're also the reigning NBA champions.
Right. And that will play a huge factor because it'll be... Like, I don't even think these last couple of weeks have been necessarily about chemistry. It's just about getting their game legs back under them, right?
100%. I wouldn't be surprised if they haven't even like scrimmaged yet. They're just shooting. Because I feel like I would have faith too, to be honest. If I was Nick Nurse, I'd be like, we could just fucking throw it together.
Well, and the fact that he said all this time off, like, you know, I think it was Kevin O'Connor just did a video and he said, like, around the league, they're starting to call him like the Bill Belichick of the NBA. And if you give a Bill Belichick 5 months mid-season to readjust, who Nick Nurse has been incredible at readjusting. Like, he's not the kind of guy that's, you know, had like Phil Jackson, like, I have the triangle offense and that will be my career and that's my philosophy the rest of time. Nick Nurse is complete opposite, right? Because through the course of the season, you see man, you see zone, you see the box and one. Like, they're always adjusting according to the team that they're playing.
He's a gecko coach, scariest ones.
This is basically the Nick Nurse podcast.
This is the Nick Nurse podcast.
So big. I'm guessing your answer is Nick Nurse, right?
100%.
Final answer. All right. So some of the juicier ones now. A defensive player of the year. I don't think it's a question, but...
What are the odds? Do the odds think it's a question?
Let me pull that up for you while you fill in some time here.
Dude, so this award, right, can obviously be stated as the most, like, incredibly hard award to quantitatively measure. Mm-hmm. How do you measure defense? And how much do you care about stats? Like, how much do we care about how many blocks a person has or how many steals a person has? Like... What does that number matter? Does it matter how many games you play?
Yeah.
Why is Kawhi Leonard not the defensive player of the year every year? He's obviously the best. You know what I mean? It's like, it's a tough award to really hone in on, I think.
So Giannis is minus 290. So for those that don't gamble, that means he's a pretty big favorite.
Damn, he is minus 290.
And then Rudy Gobert is plus 420. Anthony Davis, who I thought would have been second, is plus 500.
Yeah, I don't think Anthony Davis should be behind it. Rudy Gobert. I don't think Rudy Gobert should be in that. That seems like the laziest selection of the NBA history. It's like he always is, so we just threw him back in again. Do you think Giannis over AD that 100%. Easily? Really?
Yeah. His rebounding numbers are up, which I didn't think was possible.
What does that got to do with defense?
Well, he leads the league in defensive rebounds. Mm-hmm. For someone that, you know, I know he's not a 4 or 5, but he plays like 3 or 4, right?
But are his reboundings up on the defensive end or on the offensive end?
It just says his totals are up, but I know that he leads the league in rebounding. And the Milwaukee Bucks are how the Raptors were number 2 in
that's number 1
net rating. The Bucks are they're basically number 1 in every defensive statistical category.
Right. And
a huge part of that is obviously because of Giannis.
I'm trying to brew up the mental capacity here to fight you on it. I do. So
you know what's funny about AD? In his entire career, he's only finished in the top 3 once in Defensive Player of the Year, which is crazy.
So here's my opinion. I think Anthony Davis is a better defensive player than Giannis. I think if Anthony Davis would swallow his pride and play the 5 like Giannis did, he would have won Defensive Player of the Year this year because he would have been in those situations more.
Right.
Because you talk about... So this is why I instantly fight back at you with these like rebound things, right? It's like...
Well, I think you also like arguing with me.
100%. I love arguing. But so his rebounds went up. Yes. Okay. Well, he plays 15 more minutes at center now, right? Or whatever the case is. How much do those change his numbers? And of course they do. Again, I'm not pulling out real numbers. I'm not pulling out real facts. But we know Giannis plays more 5 this year. That helps that team exponentially.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that would help
He's
the Lakers.
He's in a better position to win that award, for sure.
But I think Milwaukee's better because of it. One, which is the most important stance. He's a better defender because of it, because I think he just gets the easiest guy to guard, and now you're just a rim protector, where Anthony Davis could do the same thing and I think flourish. And with Anthony Davis being as good as he is defensively, while JaVale McGee, Dwight Howard have shared the court, while LeBron has shared the court as well, while Avery Bradley also has a defensive, and Danny Green, like for him to be that good on such an incredible defensive team, to me speaks volumes.
Right. So you don't think by doing more with less is not more of a testament to how good you are?
Giannis is being used defensively a ton more than he was last year. So that way we see him
flourish because of it.
Of course.
Right.
Anthony Davis doesn't need to. So he does when he has to. And when we see him, that's whenever all these clips are like, whoa, AD's fucking good at defense. Yeah, he's arguably probably the best.
Right.
But we just don't see him used at that 5 position like Giannis gets.
So the one thing I do want to bring up, because I know when I'm getting into the MVP case, like this was going to be one of the big things, but
yes.
He's doing all this stuff with 30 minutes per game, which is insane, right? Like, because he averaged 29.6, so 30 points per game in 30 minutes. So those same defensive stats he's doing in less time, but you also make a great point that he's doing it at a position
yes.
where you will excel and you will get those rebounds and blocks.
Then we should also point this out as well. What were the 3 names you said as the top defensive players? You said Giannis, Davis, and Gobert.
And then Kawhi's there too.
Right. So that's the odd man out. But the first 3 are all centers. Mm-hmm. Right. Anthony Davis could play 5. The center position in today's day and age of basketball to play defense, where you are the anchor point, you are the middle point, where everyone, that all the cutters and the drivers and everything gets funneled to you to get the opportunity to make that defensive play. Right. So when you are the 5 like Giannis and you're getting those minutes, dude, you're running from key to key, and you're the point of offense and defense. So, the obvious outcome here would mean that Giannis probably gets Defensive Player and MVP, and of his team, you wouldn't. It's impossible to argue that, right? I'm just saying that when you use someone on a team that doesn't have that elite level, of course we're going to see that light of him. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that Giannis isn't this good, man. I'm not saying that Giannis isn't that dominant, but we've seen Anthony Davis do shit alone on New Orleans before, and he didn't win an MVP.
He didn't win an MVP, yeah.
And they weren't as good. I know. But it's just how you use the dude.
Right.
When you play 5 and you're the point of emphasis on offense and defense, and you get your 30 minutes, dude, every second of that 30 minutes, you have an opportunity to make a play. Mm-hmm. So you're gonna make fuck ton of plays. Like that's how it's gonna work. I just think we don't look at the committee enough.
Right.
Because Chris Middleton was all right. He's kind of helping out them. So Milwaukee, we want to take a stance where we think Milwaukee's good enough to compete with other teams, and then we want to talk about individual awards. We want to take a stance where we just remove everybody else.
Right.
But now when we talk about individual awards for Anthony Davis, no one wants to bring up the fact that you have 5 incredible defensive players in the NBA that have been there for more than 5 years, that have proved themselves for more than 5 years, that are on the same starting lineup, and Anthony Davis is still in the
conversation
of Defensive Player of the Year.
No,
when you're telling me if you just flip Giannis and AD out 1-on-1 completely, don't be naive and think there's anything different here. That's still a 1 seed in the East where the guy's winning MVP and Defensive Player of the Year. Mm-hmm. Just don't get that confused.
Right. Well, great segue to the MVP conversation, because if Giannis were to win, he'd be the first player since Jordan and Hakeem to win both awards. I have Giannis. And it's funny because I think last year I made the case for Harden and you made the case for Giannis last year. There is an argument to be made. LeBron even came out today in his presser and said, for the last couple of years, you all have been saying, I've been dominating the East, and now you put me in the West, and I have the number 1 seed on the best team. He makes a great point. But again, Giannis...
Okay, hold up. I want to talk about this anyways, because does he make a great point? Because I'm gonna do this thing again where I'm gonna push back. You had a team with a bunch of young Lakers where you guys didn't do shit and didn't win a fucking game, and then you had to go cry wolf and get the best fucking available guy, and now you're a 1 seed, and now you want to take the whole fucking priority of it?
I'm snapping. Poetic justice right there.
Hey, bro, I don't know. I've been upset at LeBron the past little while, to be honest.
Oh, yeah?
I think he's been too quiet throughout this whole thing from his stance. And again, you know, you make statements, you make points, but when you're LeBron fucking James, it's different. I think you got to do more. I think he should be holding himself to a higher standard. Honestly,
I don't know if I agree with you.
And that's okay. Yeah. You don't have to,
because I think he's done a lot.
and he may have, but to disregard all the money he's made from Nike and how they do things in China and how that goes on. Again, I'm not there, but for him to totally subliminally not
just ignore that.
To me, that's a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, again, I'm putting way too much on LeBron. Trust me, I agree. But this is how it goes, brother. This is how it goes. You're the guy. So someone needs to say something. And Pat Bev said it best. If Bron's balling, we're all balling. All right. So if Bron ain't going on the court without Black Lives Matter on his back, aren't we all not going on the court with ain't black? You know what I mean? Like I'm just saying, there's one guy in the whole fucking bubble that can make everything change, and he hasn't.
Right.
So.
Fair enough. Well, and I mean, there's still time. Like, I mean,
there's still time.
I'm sure, hopefully after games or whatever, he'll use his platform. But I don't know. I think this is the time that he wants to prepare and get ready, and he's definitely earned that right to be quiet or go zero dark 30 for this time being.
Exactly. Freedom. Of course, you've earned. Of course. He owes me nothing. I'm saying it completely from the political stance of. Where we talk about we want all of this back, but we want it to be the focal point. We want the movement to be the focal point. Like this is where I need to hear more from those guys. Right. You know.
Fair enough. So but back to the kind of Giannis case, career high 29.6 points. 29. I can't do numbers today. 29.6 points per game, 13.7 rebounds per game, 5.8 assists per game, and 55% from the field. And again, the astounding part is that he's doing this all in 30 minutes. And if you want to kind of put that into context, you have Harden who plays, close to 37 minutes per game. Doncic 34. Who else do you want? Anthony Davis 34. Yeah, like some of the superstars are playing near up to 35 minutes per game. So he's doing more with less time. So
at 7'3", and I mean it's not easy to move like that for that long, dude.
And he's like 23, which is scary.
No, he's 28.
I thought he's turning... No.
26, 25.
I thought he was a free agent at 25. Giannis...
Maybe he is 20.
Maybe
he is 25.
That's the first thing that came up. Oh, he's 25 now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's 25, which is...
Still young. It's my age. Me and Giannis are the same age.
That's scary. What are you doing with your life?
I know. The real question is, why couldn't that guy have been my receiver, bro? Damn.
That would have been nice, eh?
Could have piggybacked that shit.
All right, well, that puts a wrap on the awards.
We didn't really. Oh, so you think Giannis is winning it for sure? I think LeBron.
I think writers will make a great case. I think
if you put a gun to my head right now, I say Giannis, but I think LeBron wins it.
Ooh.
I think the NBA gives it to Bron.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think the fact that we didn't get the final 12 to 15 games is going to hurt LeBron. He's one of the guys that fall into that category where it would have been really beneficial for him to have these last 8 games count or whatever it may be. But I think because of where the season ended, Giannis had missed a couple of games prior to that March 11th date. Mm-hmm. I just think he just has too much of a case at this point. But if the Lakers had pushed for that number 1 seed overall, because they're number 2 behind the Bucks right now, then people would be like, best record in the league. How can you not give it to him? All at the age of 35.
But so you don't bring in strength of schedule? Because
LeBron had a harder schedule. Yeah.
The difference in losses is only what two? It's 2 or 3. It's not like it's a large number.
Yeah, that's
I think where the NBA is going to go is that Giannis played Atlanta and Washington 55 times and LeBron didn't.
Touche. No, yeah.
But brother, I'm with you.
Listen, my money right now is sitting on LeBron, so I would love nothing more than LeBron to get an MVP award. So.
No, and I think it'll happen. But man, yeah, like what Giannis did this year is something that we have to understand cannot be done on a championship team. I think.
Yeah. Well, you made that clear in the last podcast.
But I think that's like a point that we'll have a chance to see if I'm right again. But if they get knocked out, and Giannis wins MVP and all this stuff, it's like you got to take a look back at it. Like with what we've seen lately and how Golden State plays and how these teams that have won, like, can you congruently have a guy, one dude, that on the defensive side and the offensive side you run through? I don't know, man.
I mean, LeBron kind of did it with the Warriors, didn't he? Against the Warriors.
Right, and that's that one case that we saw.
Right. Well, that was an anomaly in itself, coming back from...
But even still, that was Kyrie and Kevin Love.
Yeah.
So there was...
Very good point.
And I don't think LeBron was always, the component of both sides of the basketball. So that's what I mean. It's different. We don't... you haven't seen a guy like Giannis be used like that to that serious of extent of both offense and defense for that long and win a championship.
You know what bugs me is we want to say, his stats got better from his MVP year. How is he not the MVP? Well, didn't we do this with Russell Westbrook?
Yes.
The man averaged a triple-double, then he followed up this season and still averaged a triple-double, but then he was a complete write-off.
Well, this is where I wanted to... That's kind of where I made my Anthony Davis point so much, right? Like, I don't want us to be dumb and naive and not think that these guys... in the fucking NBA, when it comes to top 5, 6, 8 guys, all of them are insane on their own. They're all incredible on their own team, dude.
Right.
Like we seem to just, Wait, what do you mean? We've seen Anthony Davis on his own. It's a problem. He still makes it into the playoffs in the West. That makes no sense.
I think if Kawhi played a full schedule, he would be the front runner for MVP every year. But
100%.
Because we're gonna knock the fact that he misses 15 to 20 games every year, it's like you can't give him an MVP.
But also, too, if Kawhi was on a shittier team and he was with no one else and the coach was like, hey, you're going to have to get 15 steals and scores, he'd be like, okay. And then he would have this MVP season. But no, he can do that now, man. He can do that right now.
100%.
We know he can.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I don't think we'll find out the award winners till the season ends, unfortunately. Well, I don't know. Maybe they'll go back to like what they did years. Yeah. Well, now they do that Players Award show, but that obviously not going to happen. Maybe they'll go back to what they used to do and announce it before, game one of a series. If Giannis is in it,
I would love a little live bubble
award show.
Yeah,
that'd be something.
Well, they're all going to be there, I guess.
Have Mickey be the MC.
Which player wouldn't be there that would get an award? None of them. They're all there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do a live award show.
You know what? I think low-key that's one of the reasons why they did this too, right?
Oh, come
They're
on.
like, we don't want to bring Devontae Graham to win his
that's a conspiracy
most improved.
theorist.
All right, that's a wrap. I'm excited because next Monday when we talk, we'll be able to talk a little bit about the Jays, which will be weird. But
about sports.
Content. We'll talk about sports. The CBL kicks off on Friday.
Yep.
Unfortunately, I was on the short list and didn't make the final cut, so I won't be there. But obviously, I'll be rooting for the league as a whole, and of course the Nighthawks.
And we spoke about that again, man. I'm excited to see that.
And dude, like I know this from a nerd perspective, but Dan Gladman, who produced all the Raptor games for the last I don't even know how many years, but he also produced all the games for that championship run. He's going to be producing all these CEBL games for this bubble quarantine season. So expect high production value, and like the team that they put together is top notch. So I'm telling you, man, like we don't get NBA basketball till next week. Take the time in the next week to watch some CEBL basketball, and it's free. They're streaming it on CBC Gem.
It's good. It's very good.
And
it's entertaining
that
as hell.
ELAM system, ELAM, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but you're going to get close games.
Yes.
Like, take advantage of that. So.
Even if you don't want to watch the first half, watch the second half.
Yeah, exactly, right? I mean, that's what you're doing for the NBL Star games, right? So why not do that too?
Same thing.
No, but I can't be endorsing that. You got to be watching the whole games. But really excited for Canadian basketball. Yeah, trying to throw me under the bus here.
Only I endorse the half watch.
But yeah, we got basketball this weekend. We've had UFC the last 2 weekends. And then we have baseball and then hockey next week. And we're going to have a lot of content.
It's exciting.
We're going to be pushing those 2-hour marks here in the podcast.
Yeah.
But as always, folks, thanks for joining us. Great episode as always. SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes. You can catch it on everything. YouTube. Until next time. Come back a little darker, I'm hoping. With all the sun out there. See you guys.
That was a stretch.